A quadratic is a second degree equation. It is a polynomial having highest degree as 2. A quadratic equation is given by ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0, where a is the coefficient of x squared, b is the coefficient of x, and c is a constant that has no variable attached to it. So the quadratic equation is arranged in the decreasing order of the degree, where the highest power is written first, the first is written later, and the constant is written at the last. Alpha and beta are the solutions or roots of the quadratic equation. They are also called as the zeros of the polynomial or zeros of the quadratic. The sum of these roots of quadratic are given by negative b over a, where negative b is the coefficient of x and a is the coefficient of x squared. This is also termed as s, where s is the sum of roots or sum of the zeros of the polynomial or the quadratic. Alpha into beta is the product of the roots or product of zeros of the quadratic, that is given by whose magnitude is given by c over a, and it is written or it is expressed as p, that identifies or signifies the product of the roots. A quadratic is given in terms of s and p. The quadratic is given as ax squared minus sum into x plus the product equals to 0. Note the change in sign. If we are expressing it as ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0, in terms of sum and product, we express it as x squared minus sx plus p equals to 0. The roots of the quadratic can be calculated or can be found using different methods or different ways to find the zeros of or roots of the quadratic. This method to find the roots of the quadratic is the method that is using quadratic formula. In this formula, we use x equals to negative b plus or minus root over b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Now this plus or minus sign identified that the square root of any positive integer is positive or negative, and therefore we write plus or minus if this term b squared minus 4ac is known as the discriminant of the quadratic. This discriminant is used to find the nature of the roots of the quadratic equation. Since it is a second degree equation having highest degree as 2, the quadratic will always have these two roots can be different roots. These two can be identical, or if the quadratic can have imaginary roots. Now, how do we find the roots of the quadratic? When we plug these values, b identifies the coefficient of x, a identifies the coefficient of x squared, and c is the constant. If b squared minus 4ac, the magnitude of b squared minus 4ac is known as the discriminant, which is denoted by a delta or a capital D. If d is greater than 0, then the roots of quadratic are real and different roots. If the value of d is equal to 0, then the quadratic has identical roots. And if d is less than 0, that is if the discriminant is a negative value, then the quadratic will have imaginary roots. These imaginary roots have root over a negative number. Any negative number under the root. Let us say, for example, let us say root over negative 16. So this negative is the imaginary part of the imaginary root.